Hello. Happy Monday to everyone. Monday the 10th. We have the full moon tonight at 11 p.m. It's supposed to be a pretty powerful full moon. Um, so we'll see what happens with that. And hi, good morning, love. Oh my gosh, so good to see you. What a surprise. Surprise, surprise. Um, so I'm just waiting for some people to join. Today I'm going to talk about fear and how it is related to the fifth dimension. And how, as we begin to move into this fifth dimensional energy, as we are moving into this fifth dimensional energy. Hi, Saskia. Well, surprise. As we're moving into this higher frequency, what fear is doing with us, for us, and how we can shift a little bit, how we can make this shift a little bit easier with fear. Because what I've been noticing for myself and others is that as we begin to shift more, so as we are evolving into these fifth dimensional beings, there's a lot more fear coming up because we're being asked to do different things. We're being challenged to go in a different direction that we're not used to going. Hi, Kat! Going in a direction that we're not used to going in, making decisions that we didn't think we were going to be making, right? So there's all this fear that is starting to come out and up for all of us. Stepping into a role that you didn't think you were going to step into. Things like that. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. It's funny. I don't know if anybody else has this, but every time I go live, I get so nervous because I'm trusting. Hi, Mom. I'm trusting in this information just flowing through me, and I get like my body shivers. So I get these shivering, I just start shivering uncontrollably. It's the strangest thing. Happens every single time. Like this shivering, cold thing that happens. Anyway, so let's dive into fear for a little bit. Fear and what it really is. And how we've allowed this, Cat, you too, it's the craziest thing. How we've allowed fear to run our lives. I look at fear as the same thing as the ego in a lot of ways. Hi, Heather. Hi, Casey. I see it as a construct that is part of being on this plane in the three-dimensional reality that we live in, right? And just like the ego, it has these defined ways of being. So there is the innate fear in us that we have to have as a species, as an animal, right? And that is the fight or flight. That's the part of us that protects us from danger, right? So there's that innate fear. That's not what I'm speaking about. I'm speaking more about the fear that holds us back, the fear that makes us believe these ideas that are not true, just like our ego. The fears that tell us a story that isn't true. The fears that make us stay in situations that we are no longer happy in, right? And the interesting thing about fear, as I was sitting in it today, is fear is energy, right? Hi, Kelly, my love. Hi, Kelsey. Fear is an energy. So thought is energy. Fear is thoughts, right? Hi, Priscilla. So the density of those fear thoughts are very dense. And what I was hearing today from Adama, this was really interesting that when I heard this. So as we bring in more, because I was like, how come you guys don't have fear, right? Like they don't live in fear. Fear doesn't penetrate them, right? Fear doesn't come into their beingness. And I was trying to have this dialogue of like, okay, well, explain that so that I can explain it. Hi, Brandy, love. Because of the density of those thought patterns of fear, right? If I lose my job, or when I lose my job, I'm not going to have any money. I'm not going to have any food. I'm not going to be able to pay my bills. If I leave this relationship, I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life. No one's going to love me. If I speak my truth, people aren't going to like me. Nobody's going to want to do my courses. Nobody's going to want to hire me, right? Dense. Think of it as energy. It's dense. Now, the lighter you become, the more light you bring into your body, the less ability those thoughts are going to have to penetrate you. The less you'll believe them, right? So as we're moving from the third to the fifth, as we're shifting unconsciously, it's not like a choice where you're like, okay, I'd like to feel more 5D right now. It's not a choice, right? We're just moving. These fears are becoming louder because it's just like the ego, right? These fears are becoming louder. One, because you're being asked to do a lot more things that you weren't being asked to do before. Leave relationships, leave partnerships, leave family members, leave your job. Start speaking, start offering things, right? All these things are being asked of you as you shift into a higher frequency, right? As you become who you're here to become, which means you're becoming your light being. As that happens, the fear is like, what the freak are you doing? What is this? Who are you? Don't you know that you're supposed to remain small? Don't you know that we are dense? Don't you know that we are 3D? Don't you know that this is not what we're supposed to be doing? As we shift, we have to shift these thoughts. We have to accept that fear is part of this existence, totally just like the ego, and look at it for what it really is. Very dense thought patterns that have been with us for lifetime after lifetime after lifetime that are no longer serving us, right? And if you can look at it like that, and then you can visualize your body being more light and imagining these thoughts that you're having kind of trying to penetrate into your system, it's like, oh, no, those aren't me any longer, right? And Adama was saying, the more that you are in that vibration, the more you understand who you are as a light being, which is, every day is different, every moment is different. But the more you understand that, the more you hear and see these thoughts of fear outside of yourself and not part of you, part of your light being, part of who you are. They can't penetrate you. They can't have power over you, and you begin to see them for what they are. Belief systems that have been drilled into us over and over again for lifetime after lifetime after lifetime that aren't true. They aren't true. So you have to also understand, which we all do, but it takes a moment to kind of step outside of it. Most of the fears you have are not based on any reality whatsoever. None. I guarantee you, if you think of a fear you have, it has probably never actually happened. Maybe there are some that have. But every time you break up with someone, are you alone for the rest of your life? No, but that's a major fear that stops you from leaving that relationship, right? Anytime you get fired or you want to leave your job, do you find another job? Of course you do. But the fear is, I won't find another job, right? Dense thought patterns holding us down that are being activated, getting louder and louder and louder so that we can see them and say, wow, this no longer serves me. This is not who I am. Thank you for showing me this. The other thing about fear is that it is also showing us parts of ourselves that still need to be loved, right? So there are a lot of fears that come up of, I'm not good enough. This is also ego, but it's fear, right? They kind of play the same role. And when you listen to the fears, when you hear the fears coming in, okay, what part of myself is that just needs a little bit more love, right? Well, I need to trust myself more. I need to listen to myself more. I need to trust my intuition. I need to love who I am. I need to understand who I am, right? And so there's a lot of different fears that pop in that are showing you the parts of yourself that just need to be loved a little bit more. And then there's also the fears of that push you, right? The fears of You know you have to do something. There's that fear that's like, oh my God, you're going to suck. You can't do it, right? And if you have to do it like a 30-day challenge, you push through the fear and you understand that that fear isn't true and you just keep going, right? But most people, me included, allow this fear to stop us. And so it's time that we begin to look at fear from a different perspective. Okay, so it's time to look at fear as energy. It's time to look at it as little lines going over like a little, like in like the stock market, they have the tracker thing that goes through there, right? And so there's all your fears popping up, like, oh, look at that fear, okay. Oh, look at that fear. Oh, look at that fear. There it goes, right? And you're watching it, and you're feeling the density of it, and you're recognizing. You're like, okay, so how much of that density, how much of that 3D like game that we're playing am I going to allow into my system, right? I don't want to allow that into my system. The other thing about fear is there is always the opposite of it, right? So any fear you have, the opposite of it is also true, right? So I have a fear of being alone. If I leave my partner, I'm going to be alone. Or if I leave my partner, I'm going to find an even more amazing partner. Why is that not on the ticker? Why doesn't that pop up on our ticker? That has just as much truth as the truth of you're going to be alone, right? Like they both are. They're both. This is duality. This is our planet is duality, right? I have a fear of being alone, and the opposite of that is I'm going to find the most amazing person after this, right? So it's choices, energy, what feels better. We are not stuck any longer in this belief that everything just is happening to me. I have to just believe these fears. These fears are just what it is, right? I'm a victim. I have to just sit in this fear, No, you lose your job. It's a horrible, horrible thing, right? Because we don't have faith and trust in ourselves and the universe, that the universe always takes care of us. But for the most part, you're usually going to be taken care of. You're not going to be homeless. You're going to find a way to survive. Somehow you're going to find the money. It always happens. The bills get paid. The food gets put on the table, right? And so the other thing about, oh, I'm not going to have the money is I'm going to be taken care of. I'm going to be financially taken care of, right? This is shifting from 3 to 5D. So when you're in 3D, God bless us all, you're very much in that fear-based mentality, right? It's easy to be in that fear-based mentality because you don't have to do anything. You don't have to shift your perspective. You don't have to start thinking about how fear has impacted you and start shifting. It's easy to kind of just stay in the mundane. But as you begin shifting, it's like, wait, what's the opposite of that fear? Let me look at it in a different way. Let me just imagine what the other side of that fear would be, right? I don't want to do this offering because no one's going to want to sign up for the offering. Okay? That's one way. What's the other side? What's the flip of that? I'm going to do this offering and it's going to sell out, right? Or I'm going to do this offering and who needs to sign up is going to sign up. Okay? Even if you don't believe it, start moving your mind, start moving your thought a little bit over to that other side. Just start moving it over just a tiny bit. Even if it's an acknowledgement that that fear isn't real, but you still believe it, hallelujah. At least you're acknowledging that you know that fear isn't real, but you still don't have quite the strength to be able to switch it to that other side, right? See, the beings in 5D that are all around us, they can feel those thought patterns so strongly that it doesn't even make sense for them to even bring it in, right? Like, it's like they see it. It's like it doesn't even have anything on them, because of how their light is within their body. If you understand, like Kat says all the time, that we're all energy, that we're all vibration, so is thought, which is fear. It's a vibration. So if you start feeling into fear, feeling into what that feels like, you're going to feel it. It's, the density of it. It doesn't feel good, right? It doesn't make it any easier for us to move through it or move past it. But start looking at fear as an energy instead of as something that's controlling you. Start looking at fear as that ticker box up above, right? And you see the words going by. You're going to fail miserably. You're never going to get another job. You can't leave this job because there's nobody else that will hire you. You don't have the experience to do blah, 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 right? It's interesting how closely related fear and the ego are, if you think about it, and how they're both concepts. They're not real. And they both control us pretty darn powerfully right now. So again, like I said with the ego, with fear, if you step outside, right? You step outside of yourself and look down into your fears. You look down, and that's hard to do with fear. It's easier to do with your ego. It's hard to do with fear. Because fear we are so ingrained with fear. Fear, we don't even think. Fear just pops in and it is all consuming. Fear leads our life. Fear leads our life. Fear leads our life for so many of us. It's very unconscious. We're inundated by it. So if we start to think about fears, when you hear them come up, just hear the fear come up, and then just kind of step above and look down and say, okay, that's my fear. That's my fear thought. That's an energy. That's a frequency. Where am I at? Do I want to match that? Or do I want to try to shift? Do I want to try to move just a little bit differently in a little bit different direction? And love yourself no matter how it goes, right? So it's not easy to move through fear. It's not easy to begin to trust, surrender, stay in the present moment. So this is what happens when we start shifting from 3 to 5. You start acknowledging the 3D shit that we've been going through for so many thousands of years. God bless us. The fear. And what is required of us as we're shifting is trust, surrender, listening to your intuition. These are all things that the beings inside Telos and all the other inner cities and all of the ascended masters learned on this planet, right? The only thing that led these beings was absolute trust, surrender, and intuition, heart-centered consciousness. That's what heart-centered consciousness is. It's living from your heart, which basically means trusting like no one's business that you are completely taken care of no matter what it looks like. Surrendering to every single thing that's popping up in your life moment to moment. Even when the fear pops in, you continue to surrender. That's starting to move into 5D. It's not easy. We all talk about, oh, this is so amazing. We're ascending. Yay, this is fabulous. We've been waiting for this for so many years, blah, 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 right? The shit is hard and it's difficult. It's like you're moving back and forth and, there's so many days where you're like, F this. I'm being required to step up into this other space, right? And still be here with all this fear. Right? So how do I start balancing that out? Well, you start looking at fear as energy. You start looking at the vibration of fear. You start asking yourself, and baby steps, but you start asking yourself, okay, if I just trusted a tiny bit, what would that look like? If I surrendered just a little bit, maybe just for the hour. For 1 hour, I'm going to surrender and just trust. What does that feel like? Because you also have to understand, because we have lived in fear our whole lives, and then life before that. We've lived in fear for so long. We don't understand the energy it takes to live in fear. It is very draining to live in fear. It consumes you. It sucks the energy out of you. It pushes you back down. It keeps you dense, right? And so the more you stay in that fear, the more you vibrate in that fear zone, the more you're going to be sucked, the more you're going to feel that. If you can step out of the fear even for an hour, maybe a day, you can step out of it, maybe 20 minutes, but just start practicing stepping in and out of that fear, right? And looking at it like the ticker that it is, like an energy that it is, the vibration that it is. And knowing that fear, that moving back and forth through fear is a process that's going to take a long ass time, right? It's going to take a long time. These fears are natural. They're part of living on the planet, but they're not real. That's the thing. That's the thing about this. The fears aren't real. And the more you just move through those fears, and the more you start to trust and surrender, the easier it becomes. So the more you're able to push through the fear and feel it and be like, oh, that didn't, and the faster you're able to do it, the more you're going to be able to just keep moving through that fear, right? Because fear is not going to go away, just like ego is not going to go away. While we're on this plane, while we're moving back and forth, right, fear isn't going anywhere. So fear is going to continue to pop up daily, hourly, weekly, I don't know. Anyone that says they don't have fear in their lives, explain to me, because I don't know how that's possible. You know, maybe Matt Kahn, I don't know. I'm sure there's people out there that don't have fear, but, or they have it, but they're not attached to it, right? So it's like any other emotion, right? So that the emotion comes in, and it's like, oh, there it is, and then you just let it go, right? So maybe that's how a lot of people that are more, I don't know, have more light in their bodies. Maybe that's how they do it. It's like, oh, here comes fear. Boop, fear comes in. I just keep going, right? I don't attach to it. I don't connect to it. I don't hold on to it. That's very similar to sort of stepping outside of it and looking down and being like, okay, I'm seeing this fear. I'm hearing it all. I'm listening to it, and it's not real, right? It's just stories. And so continuing to just push through it, move through it. And the other thing that just came through, and I think Brandy talked about this, if there's fear, then there is something magical on the other end, okay? So if you're having fear about something, if you're having fear about moving towards something, if you're having fear about a decision, know without a shadow of a doubt that on the other side of that fear is something beyond your wildest dreams, right? And for whatever reason, we hold ourselves back because of that fear, and there's so many things in our lives we don't actually experience because of not knowing what's on the other side, right? So knowing also that with this fear, there are some magical, amazing things on the other end, on the other side. It's like, okay, so I'll just push through it then, right? Like, why not push through it and see what's on the other side instead of listening to those stories, listening to those old belief systems that are not in any way, shape, or form true. You think about how crazy that is. That we've lived our lives being controlled, for a lot of us, by fears, stories that just aren't true. It's quite crazy. I mean, they're not true. They don't happen. You know? Yeah, so I think that's my, yeah. I fear TL when she's crabby. All right, so stay in the car, keep going. Yeah, so I think that's it right now for the fear. The message for fear. Are there any questions? Any questions before I hit the road, Jack? Don't you come back. No more, hit the road, Jack. Tomorrow, I'm going to be talking about Lemuria. What? Let's dive into Lemuria. What was it? Where did it come from? What did it look like? What did it feel like? There's no snow today. There's snow Tuesday. We're going to have snow Tuesday. We're going to have snow Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. Snow. Lame. All right, my loves. I guess that's it. When you post this, I'm going to listen to it every day. Oh my gosh, Heather, me too. Just a quick little Adama message, right? They're good though. They're short little like, oh my God, okay. Yeah, I'll post it this afternoon. Oh, love. Maretta, I'm so happy that I saved you today. Hi, Tessa. You're never late. You were here. You just weren't here, but you were here. Thanks, Casey, for joining, my love. I'm looking forward to watching all of you guys this afternoon. I'm home and I get to enjoy all the IG lives. For all of you that don't know, we're doing 30 days of IG lives. IG lives? Yeah, hashtag 30 days of IG lives. So there's a group of us that are going on every day. It's beautiful. All right. Since there's no questions about fear and the 5D, thank you, Adama. Yes, this will be on YouTube for sure. I'll post it for sure on YouTube today. 30 days of IG Live, yeah. That's it, my lovely loves. I am grateful for every single one of you. And who's on at 12? Casey. Casey's on at 12. Today is magical. Today is magical is... oh, shoot. No, wait. No, today's magical is on at 1. 1 p.m. Pacific is today's magical. Evolve Cat is 2 p.m. Pacific, but there's somebody at 12. I don't know who it was. You're welcome, Heather. I'm so glad you're here. Okay, I'm going to post this up on YouTube, and then tomorrow, 11 a.m., Lemuria. What? Okay, love you guys. See you soon. Have a great rest of your day. Love you. Bye.